All right, guys, sorry about that. I think we are set now. I think this is the official link. Yeah, I had some issues there for a bit. Good. So we're live. It's the night before English B. Let me share the official link with you for the persons who wish to join. Let me make sure my students are in first, and then I can free it up to the persons on YouTube. So we're going to take a look at the exam. We're going to take a look at the holistic exam. We are going to look at the things that we must do tomorrow and the things that we should not attempt to do. How are you feeling? How are you feeling generally about the exam, though? I don't like the idea of talking to myself. I don't see anyone here as yet. Late show. It's not technically not. It's not late. We have we've been we've been at this later than we are now, so technically not. Last year, I remember we were on after 12. Unfortunately, I live far from where I work, so traveling, and I'm tired and I have to teach another class before this, so it's a little hectic. Well, we're here nonetheless. Um, I do the sciences, at least chemistry, physics, chemistry, it's chemistry, biology, integrated science, human and social biology, and probably English A. I'll do some crash courses in those. Yeah, so we are ready. Matthew, good night. How are you doing? Ready for the exam tomorrow?
Um, yeah,
Yeah, sure with that.
yes, sir.
How was the exam today?
Exam today was good.
Okay. All right, good. So tomorrow will be the deal breaker. It's either makes or breaks.
Yep.
What is it making? All right, so when it comes to the exam tomorrow, let's just quickly look at the general outline while the others join in. The outline is rather simple. 3 sections. You have drama, you have poetry, you have prose. Under your drama section, you have to do one essay. Your poetry section, same one essay. Under your prose section, same one essay, right? So you have to write 3 essays in that 2 hour, 40 minutes schedule. So what I would recommend is 40 minutes per essay, and you will get yourself about 10 minutes at the end of the exam to reread and stuff, right? So I usually tell my students 40 43 minutes per essay, right? So the exam will be a lot of sections, a lot of options to some persons who study a lot of material. Let's say for the drama part of it, you have a few options. You have Anansi, and then you have what is the British text in the book this year, in the syllabus this year? 12th night it is? Yeah, we look at the paper one later on. Later on. Let's just get this out of the way first. Yeah, so where am I? Yeah, so we look at the one essay for the drama, one essay for the poetry, one essay for the prose. Let me first start by saying you are, even if you have several options, don't attempt to do 2 essays. Just write the one essay. Spend time and make sure you have one solid essay. All right, so Anansi, if you choose to do that, if you choose to do 12th night, whatever it is you choose to do, write your essay on that. The poetry section has 2 options as well. The first question in the poetry section will name 2 specific poems, and then it will give you a question following that. And the second question in that poetry section will give you the option to use any 2 poems in the list to answer a question. And once that second question is given to you, any of the 20 poems can be used. So really, the night before the exam, what I want to tell you is that really at this point, if you can't cram all 20 poems, which if you're going to attempt to do that now, you're wasting your time. At this point, make sure you cram 2. Make sure you know 2 poems out of your head and you're able to answer that question, that poetry question, completely using that 2 poem or those 2 poems that you know. So try your very best to, at this point, learn 2 poems off head. The prose section, you have a few options there as well. My students prepared for the animal farm, and you are going to pick whatever question you have. If you're going to do your short story question, whatever you choose to do, you do it. But remember, again, just 1 essay for that section. So in total, you have 3 solid essays to write in the exam tomorrow. And if you don't write 3 complete essays, you are in the possibility of not doing well, and you're in the realm of failing, right? So make sure, don't say, oh, I have 2 essays and you're hoping for the best. You might be surprised at things that students leave to chance. Huh? But don't be one of those persons. You have to have 3 essays, 3 solid essays, and do not use poems to answer prose questions and short stories to answer poetry questions. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. All right. Good. Yeah. So English B is simple. It's really simple. And I want you to go with the impression of the exam being simple, and go with the expectation of writing a lot and trying to enjoy yourself. I know a few of my students are going to really enjoy themselves tomorrow, because tomorrow is the grade 1 that everybody wants, you know. CXC's results in the previous years show that English B it's easier to get a grade 1 in math than it is to get a grade 1 in English B. So go with the expectation of acing the exams. Acing the exams in the sense that you have studied this material and you can write and talk about this thing that you have read. Right? The question is really the same question, especially the poetry question. It's the same question every year. They're going to ask you to identify a possible situation, the situation mentioned in the poem, show how a persona or the person is affected by the situation, and then discuss device to show a particular theme. Question is really the same. So if you know the question, what the question is already, you just find your 2 poems that you relate to more, and you cram those 2 poems. And when you cram those 2 poems, that is it for you. You're good to go. You're ready for the exams, right? So I wish you all the best. Before I get into the actual review, let me just tell you not to be late for the exam. You have sacrificed a lot to prepare. Don't get to the exam late, right? People making it, people 2 essays, a good paper 1 and SBA, you should pass. All right. All right. Yeah, like living life on the edge. I see. All right, so let me have a little quick chat while the others come as well. You ready for the exam tomorrow? Selena, you ready for the exam tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. A little bit nervous.
Liverpool, are you ready?
Yeah, but the paper 1 is scaring me a little.
Nah, the paper 1.
Like, I have an idea, but
the
it's like I
history
really hope that a lot of questions repeat.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will. If the most I will possibly repeat is 4. Average is 2, 3. But the thing about the paper 1 for English B, since I wrote exams many years ago, paper 1 has always been challenging. And it's not challenging because you don't know what you're doing. It's challenging because you have so many things to read and so many things to put as a possible answer to, right? So don't go with the expectation of the exam is paper one, especially gonna be a walkover. It's not gonna be. You guys will enjoy paper two more than you will enjoy paper one. I promise you that. So make sure you go and ensure you get the grade one on the paper two. The paper one is just the find the little bits that you have to do just to concretize that grade one. So make sure you get a grade one on the paper two. Don't come out of the paper two with thoughts of being unsure. Make sure you cement that grade one in the paper two. Right? Are we nervous? Anybody here is nervous? Osborne, you're nervous?
Yes, sir. Just a little. Just a little.
Just a little. I like how you put in that a little there. A little nerves is good to know to keep you in check. Azrael, what about you?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm nervous. I'm studying. I'm studying a whole lot of things. I'm studying what the paper gonna look like. How much question paper they will give us. How much answer sheets.
There's a standard. There's one booklet you're going to be given, and in the booklet you will have space to write your essays, and you'll have some extra pages at the back, and then you can always ask for extra pages if you think you're extra bright and want to write extra. All right, so just remember you have the option, you have the ability to really cement your grade based on how you write. English A is not just about English B is not just about knowing a text or knowing a poem. It's also knowing to use sentences, write well, no paragraphing, no linking words, and so on. So you want to make sure all those little things are cemented in your preparation, right? So I see we're up
Yes,
to
sir.
134 persons on the live on YouTube. Okay, we seem to be doing well. And Vishal is in. Vishal, how are you with your preparation? You ready? Think you're ready? Almost ready?
Yes, sir.
You sound drunk. You sound like you just wake up or you're now going to sleep. Which one is it?
Sir, I may or may not just wake up.
All right, good. So let's review. Let's try to do some quick reviews to our poems. All right. So, like I said, there will be 2 questions tomorrow in the exam, 2 questions for the poetry section. We're going to time ourselves so we don't spend too much time on one thing. And by all means, if you guys are tired, you can go rest. But I'll tell you what, an hour nap is very good. An hour nap when you're young, you feel revitalized very quickly. So don't think that you need to sleep 8 hours. Y'all young is all right. Y'all will live. Y'all will live. All right, good. So what we're gonna do, let's spend 30 minutes on the poetry section, revising our poems, 15 minutes on the drama, 15 minutes on the prose. And then we'll work a multiple choice paper, so at least some bits of the multiple choice paper. That's our revision. And whatever work you want to do on your own afterwards, by all means, you're gonna do it. So you want to be out of here by 11. Might be a little too ambitious, but let's see how we go. So again, this is important, so I'm going to say it again. You have 2 poetry questions. One question will name 2 poems. When they name the 2 poems, they will say Dark Time I Love and Once Upon a Time. That's me just throwing 2 things out based on what came to my head just now. That's not what's coming tomorrow. At least I don't know if that's coming tomorrow. The second question will give you a theme, and you have to choose any 2 poems in the syllabus. That option, that second question, the markers are going to be told that you can choose any 2 poems and answer that. So what I'm going to tell you right now, the night before the exam, a couple hours before the exam, if you know you have 2 poems that you are very strong in, know those 2 poems by heart and look for that second question to answer it. And once you know those 2 poems, make sure you use your knowledge in those 2 poems to answer the question. Let me say right off the bat for all 3 of these sections, don't spend too much time talking about the book, talking about the poem, talking about the drama. The question is not gonna have you talk about these things. The question wants you to use your knowledge to answer the question. It's not, the question will not be discuss for 35 marks Animal Farm. No. The question will not ask you discuss or describe and compare Dreaming Black Boy with This is a Dark Time I Love. That's not how it's going to come. You have to understand the poem and use your knowledge on the poem to ask what the question is asking you for. Similarly, you use your knowledge on Animal Farm to answer what the question is asking you for. So what I want you guys to do for me tomorrow is make sure you repeat the question, read the question back several times as you are writing. As you write, read your question back just to make sure you're following what the question is asking you to follow. Make sure you're answering the question that is given to you. So far, am I making sense or am I wasting my time? Because if I'm wasting my time, let me go sleep one time. Making sense or
No,
wasting?
sir. You're making a lot of sense, sir. Continue.
Okay, good. So that's a little bit of the introduction there. So let's revise our poems. 151, 154 persons we were up to. Okay, but the likes are 23. So can we get the likes up as well too? Come on, don't be stingy on the likes. Take the like as if you're paying me. So click the like as if you're paying me. So I will accept your like as my payment. Thank you very much. Good.
Don't worry, sir. We have some other payments for you.
Oh, Lord. Welcome, Mr. Harry. Good. So yeah, let's go to our poems. How are we gonna revise our poems? We're gonna revise our poems in this format here. We're gonna use situation. We're going to use how the persona is affected. And we're gonna use device. That's how we're gonna revise our poems, right? And instead of me just talking, let's have the persons participate. So I'm gonna share this link to Facebook, to YouTube, and those persons can join in. So the first, but remember when you're joining, please turn your microphones off. This is the ID 18145852761. So just join that, no password needed. Join in, and we're gonna revise our poems together. So you will talk. So let's start with the first poem. Remember, we're revising our poems using these three headings: situation, how is the persona affected, and our device. So the first poem we're gonna deal with is This is a Dark Time I Love. Who here wants to attempt that one? Tell us about This is a Dark Time I Love. Quickly. We're out of time. Helena, let's talk about This is a Dark Time I Love.
Sir, it's a poem that
what's the
explores the situation. Well, it's a poem that speaks about Guyana's fight for independence from the British. Guyana wanted to get independence, but the British wasn't ready to let go of them. So they sent in the British Army, and the poem explores how the sufferings of war, basically. And yeah.
And how is the persona affected, or how the people of Guyana in this poem is affected?
So in the poem, he said that everywhere the faces of men are strained and anxious. So you can see that everyone is stressed, and the atmosphere is really depressing.
Right. So they were about to gain independence, and then suddenly these strange men came and regained control. They refer to them as brown beetles. So suddenly these brown beetles are taking control of this land, and they're all stressed out, and they're unsure of what their future is going to be like or will look like. And as a result, I think I'll also remove the person name anonymous. So just rename yourself better, please. Right. So they're stressed out, and who comes walking in the dark night time? Whose boot of steel tramps down the slender grass? The repetition of, or the use of those rhetorical questions are showing to us, how unsure the person is of what is happening, and the uncertainty among those persons who were in British Guyana at the time. Right, good. So what's our device used? We have repetition. This is dark time, my love. This is the dark time, my love. Showing how deeply the time was, or showing emphasis of how sad that time was. We have rhetorical question. I mentioned those just now. And there's a beautiful line there that says, red flowers bend their heads in awful sorrow. So it's making it out to be that this is a very sad and depressing time, and it's such a sad time that even nature felt what was going on. Even nature was affected by what was going on. And the situation was so sad and depressing that it was.
One, two. It is a festival of gun, the carnival of misery.
No, that would not be personification. It would be as if these flowers were having the ability to feel the pain and sorrows of the Guyanese people. Festival of Guns,
So,
Carnival of Misery will be an example. Yes, Liverpool?
the Festival of Guns and Carnival of Misery will be an oxymoronic expression.
Yeah, that would be oxymoron. So, yeah, Festival of Guns, Carnival of Misery will be an example of oxymoron. You choose to explain. But remember, when we are doing our device question, I'm big on this. I'm going to say it again. When we're doing our device question, we want to do three things. One, name the device. Two, identify the example of the device, or you're quoting the example of the device. And three, you have to explain how the device use is helping you to understand the poem, or helping you to understand the theme that you're explaining. Is that clear? Don't just mention a device and in one line you stop talking. That's very common of what CXC students do. It's not just about mentioning the name of the device and giving an example of the device. You have to go on to explain. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So next poem, next up, Dulce et Decorum est, or Dulce et Decorum est. Who's going to talk about that one? Quickly pick and go. Three things we're talking about: situation, the person is affected, and the device. Somebody go quickly.
Dulce et Decorum est talks about the young soldiers whose life were affected by the war, and that was as a result of them being told the old lie, it is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. Within the poem, we see that it was not sweet, nor fitting to die for the country. The poem shows us all the cruelty that to face during this war.
Mm-hmm.
Many died as a result of not being able to put on their helmet to mask the gas.
Mm-hmm.
We see the cruelty these soldiers had to face in the war because of this lie they were being told.
Right. So a little background story. The British politicians at the time were romanticizing this war. They're telling these young men, hey, when you go to fight for your country, it's a sweet and fitting thing to die. It's a sweet and fitting thing to fight for your country. And if you so happen to die, you will die a hero. But when these young men actually go to fight this war, when they realize how these men are brutally killed, gas, quick boy, and ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmet just in time. Or someone still was yelling out and stumbling like a man in fire or lime. When they see how these men were dying, nothing was sweet about it. Nothing was fitting about it. Nothing was amazing about this death. So they're romanticizing the death, and then when the men really get a chance to realize what was happening, it was a little too late. They were already enrolled, and they had to go fight. Good. How were the persona affected? We spent some time talking about that. As you're quoting on the exam tomorrow, as you're quoting, try to quote general statements to add to your point. You don't have to quote line by line by line. Please don't do that. It's annoying to read. You're quoting bits of pieces that add to your explanation. As you explain, you put your bits of pieces there. For example, we just said the British monarchy would have sent soldiers back to regain control of Guyana. Brown beetles crawl about. And as a result, the people were worried and they were strained about what they were witnessing. Who comes walking in the dark night time? Right? So you're using your quotation to support what your explanation is going. You're explaining and you're quoting among your bits as you're explaining. Okay? Questions so far? So one of the things that students like to use on the exam is imagery. Everything is imagery, but there's lots of imagery in the poem Dulce at Decorum. Anybody wants to talk about a few? When you say imagery, what are you talking about? I have quite a few. I have a video on YouTube here that explains all the major devices. Look for that for the persons who want some practice on that. Look for the video on that, poetry devices, Jam Manhattan, and you will see that there. Right, who wants to tell me about the device used here? What would you probably explain in the exam tomorrow? Quickly. Nobody? If it's one thing about me, I'm telling you, I'm not going to be talking through this entire live. You guys have to pitch in. It's your exam. Talk, and I'll guarantee you, the more you talk, the more you remember what it is you're dealing with. I'll ask one more time. Who wants to talk about a device in Dulce at Decorum? Go on, tell name the device, give the example of the device, explain the device. That's what you have to do.
Sir, imagery. For the lines, you could use bent double like beggars under socks, not need, coughing like hags, we curse through the sludge. So basically what this is saying is that like it's basically giving you the visual impression of the conditions which they were under during the war. And basically, you know, how they were going back to the camp in which they're coming from.
Okay.
I just want to say that same line could be used as a simile because it shows how exhausted the soldiers were trying to survive.
Yeah, definitely. And remember in your exam, don't just feel as though just writing one line is sufficient. Oftentimes students feel as though because they have mentioned everything already up there, they don't have to do it back down here. And that might not necessarily be the case, right?
How
You have to say it back.
were trying to survive.
You have to say it back. So make sure you do say it back, right? Good. So next up, let's talk about Once Upon a Time by Gabriel O'Cara. Who's gonna go? Situation? What's the situation like?
the situation in Once Upon a Time, written by Gabriel Carl, is a man who is a big one who's who's residing in a house in a home with his son. He's saying that the negative aspect he have been exposed in like cause him to change. He's now accepting the fact that he's a hypocrite, and he's saying that here arts, no laugh with the arts and the eyes, but now they only laugh with the teeth, which which signifies to the audience that um the mo- it's the poem is saying that uh, the things people have done to him in life cause him to change, and he's now pleading and begging his son to help him to unlearn the amusing things he have learned. But it's so become that he's the one with he's the eldest one, and his son is the child. How can he want his son to help him to unlearn all the new things he have learned? Waiting he have come across a whole the most he have been exposed to most of what life has to offer, and he's ought to be the one teaching the son. But in the poem, he's pleading with his son to teach him. The poetic device in there is uh, irony. Is I the poetic device?
Yes, it's irony. Go
Uh,
on.
Yeah, the poetic device there is irony, which shows us that the son has to be teaching the father because the son can't be teaching the father because he's a little one. He don't know he ought he didn't have much life experience to know what it takes to teach someone. But the father is now accepting the fact that he's a hypocrite and he wants to change. He's saying that all the things people have done to him in this life has caused him to change.
All right, good.
And
So
yeah,
we see
that's
a
basically what
problem.
the problem.
We see a problem where the child is being asked by a father to teach him how to be sincere, how to be innocent, how to be true. And we see the father is asking the son really because the son at this point is innocent. The son at this point is pure. The son at this point is sincere, genuine. Right. So the father is asking the son to teach him. That's ironic because the son should be learning from the father, not teaching the father. So that's irony. But we expect that in a poem of this nature, the father is really admitting to us that, you know what, I have realized I've changed. I've realized that I've become a hypocrite. I've realized that society has really made me out to be this thing that I don't want to be anymore. And I want to unlearn these things. I want to be sincere. I want to be innocent. I want to be true again. And he's asking the son to teach him because the son is innocent. All right. So we see all of that happening there. We see the device, we see the situation of how the person is affected, and we see the good quality that his father has the best interest at heart. Right. He wants to be pure and innocent. Good. Excellent. Let's go on to talk about a stone's throw. Who's gonna go there?
Sir Asunsho mainly speaks about this guru saving a woman from men who wanted to touch her, and
Careful how you use
he
the word
was,
touch. Huh?
pardon me, sir.
Careful how you use the word touch. They wanted to touch her. They didn't just want to touch her, they wanted to kill her. They wanted to stone her to death. Uh-huh. Go on.
Yeah, they wanted to stone her to death because the law says that whoever commits adultery should be stoned to death. And Jesus, who saw what they were doing, he stooped down to her level. He looked onto them as if he sees them, as he sees them through her eyes, and he write into the sand that they could not understand, and they walked away ready to stone another day.
All right, right, very good. So they walked away with stones and they were hoping to use those stones another day. So it's a very good comparison between a stone's throw and once upon a time. We saw the father was willing to change, but here we see these self-righteous hypocrites that call themselves Christian leaders. You can put it in the exam, nothing's wrong with that. Self-righteous hypocrites walking away with stones, walking away with those stones to throw those stones another day, given the urge, they say. Right? So if one they find somebody who's a hypocrite, they do what? Well, once they find somebody who's a sinner, they will stone those persons to death. All right. So good. So device used there.
Irony, sir, is thought that she is physically good looking, but the sin is ugly.
Yeah.
Irony.
You can listen. Nothing is wrong with what you put, but you have to put some explanation behind it to justify your answer, right? We are looking not only for you to pick a right device, but how you're explaining that device, right? So remember, you have to do 3 things for our device question: identify the name of the device, quote an example of it, and then go on to explain, right? Good. Dreaming Black Boy. Who's gonna go with that one?
Well, Dreaming Black Boy is about a boy who is facing racism and prejudice by everyone in his community, and it's him expressing the persona expressing his desire to be accepted, to be treated like others, to be treated equally. You can tell through like context that he is in a school which is predominantly white, and he is probably the only Black child in that school. So he feels isolated where he is.
Right. And the thing has really affected him. He went on to say, I wish I myself would not hold back when an answer comes. I'm no wood chopper now, like all ancestors. So you're seeing that whatever he's dealing with has really affected him, and it's really telling on him. It's changing who he is, and he's limiting how much he can learn and how much he is willing to show, right, of his talent, right? Good. Device used there, lots of devices used there, but what's the most important one? Dreaming Black Boy was the most important one.
Repetition.
Repetition. I wish, I wish, I wish. He's repeating, I wish, I wish, I wish, to show how badly he desires, how badly he wishes to have this thing, how badly he wants to be treated equally, how badly he wants to be recognized and adorned for how much he knows or how much he can be. Right? So repetition is there in the sense of I wish. Good. What else are we dealing with? Cover that poem nicely there. Have we found our 2 poems as yet? Do you know 2 poems by heart that you are going to go to the exam and write on? You have those 2 poems yet? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good, you should have your 2 poems. And if you go to the exam and you see the other poetry question, and it seems to be easy as well, and you can handle that, Try to make sure you answer the question and you can score the most marks on. Don't say, oh, it's the easier question. And when you start writing the question, you realize that, nah, this is problems. No. Make sure you do some thought before you actually start the writing, right? Good. So next poem up. Who's going to call a list from the list for me, please? I lost track already.
My parents.
No, it does not depend on what the theme is asked. And I said that at the start, and I'll say it one more time and I'll not say it again. There are 2 poetry questions going to be on the exam. The first question will name 2 poems, and the second question will give you a general idea, and you are going to use any 2 poems from the list to answer that second question. So really, you can really cram just 2 poems and make sure you're able to apply those 2 poems to whatever that second question asks. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. My parents. Who's gonna go walk us through that one quickly? Someone else walk us through that.
Well, my parents were written by Stephen Spender.
Steven
It's based
Spencer.
the situation basically in the poem is where a little boy who lived with his parents, and his parents consider themselves as, this high class, top ranking individuals in society. And they see the other individuals in society as low class people, right? See, poor class, and they didn't want their son to be um hanging around those rough boys. So throughout the poem, they try to keep their son away from those rough boys as a preventative measure. But the the son was the son was so desirous of hanging around these boys that he kept asking himself, why am I he kept wondering why my parents want to keep me away from these boys, not knowing that his parents consider themselves because they have must it be
You have to use the word perhaps there. You don't know that for a fact. You have to use the word perhaps. So perhaps the parents thought they were better. Perhaps they thought that they were not in the same league. Perhaps they thought that these children were bad influences. So we don't know for a fact. So you sprinkle the word perhaps there. So make sure you, when you're writing tomorrow, especially when you're putting down your thoughts on your poems, sprinkle perhaps, explain using the perhaps, because you don't know exactly. I am not the author. I did not write that poem. I did not write that book. So I don't know exactly what the person wanted to think or wanted us to say. So sprinkle the word perhaps, okay? Good. Is this child though wanting really to be in the company? Does he want to be in the children's company, or he just wanted to be what his parents wanted him to be?
No, sorry.
Know what?
Well, I think that the boy wanted to be friends with those in his community, with the little children, but they
Right.
would
And how do you know that he wanted to be children? He wanted to be friends with them.
due to any poem, it actually says, I can't remember exactly, but like he was trying to,
I long to smile or something like that. What was it?
yes,
I love
but
to forgive, but they never smile.
But they never smile. So you wanted to be like them. You wanted to be in their company. You wanted to be friends, but they never smile. And it's it is as if he wanted to be their friends, but they didn't want him to be in their crew. So they never smile back. So they never welcome him in the crew or in the group, right? Somebody else wanted to ask something there quickly?
yeah, throughout the poem the little boy kept elaborating on his feelings over and over and over to show how desirous he wants to be friends with these boys, but due to but perhaps always parents consider himself. The boys didn't want him around them. That gives us the idea of how different the persona was from the rough boys.
Okay. All right. Anyone else wants to add anything else? Any other device you want to mention there quickly? All right.
if they use a simile, they put through words like stones and water
Yeah.
goes.
But yeah, simile, definitely. But I want you to use device that you can explain more than just writing a one line on, right? So unless it's a device you can really explain, if it's going to just give you a one line, don't use it. Look for something stronger, right? Things like similes and metaphors, students often just write that one line and that's it. And you don't get more than 1 marks for that one line. So you want to put something that you can really explain. Okay, guys? I think we're up. Our 30 minutes is up for this section. So let's look at another poem quickly He's there, guys.
Woman speaks to the man who employed her son.
Woman speaks to the man who's employed her son, Lorna Goodison. Lorna Goodison is Jamaican. And is there a Jamaican here on the line that wants to take us through Lorna Goodison's poem?
Sure, I could.
Go ahead.
So the poem "The Woman Speaks to the Man Who Has Employed Her Son" is basically about a lady, and she has a son, and
Thank
she
God. We didn't figure that one out so far. Go on.
so she had like hopes for him. She allowed him to become anything that he wanted him to be. He wanted
Yeah.
to be. So she said
Quote,
no ceiling on what he could be.
put no ceiling on what he can be. Go on.
Healer, Earth Pilot, take wings.
Pilot take wings, excellent. Go on.
And then but he decided to not follow any of those careers, but rather to turn to a life of violence. And
But is he really turning to a life of violence? You think so?
yes, sir, I think so, based on what she's saying.
No, but
So, like,
what he was really looking for, perhaps, is looking for a male influence, a male role model, and he just happened to find this male role model in the eyes or the hands of a drug dealer, and as a result, the drug dealer wants him to become this thug, or this Don thug, like we say in Guyana, hey, right? So, and as a result, what happened? He tells her
wait.
He's working for you, and then she wonders.
I think
Because for you, that you love him so much that you gave him one whole submachine gun for himself.
For himself alone,
Yeah, so basically she's being sarcastic there. She's like, well, you care for him so much, but basically you're putting him in a situation where he could die. And if you care for him, you wouldn't have put him in that position, basically.
Right. And so she's trying to show that a father should not be like that, should not be that influence. A father should really be taking care of their children or their child, right? So this father is obviously not the kind of impression that she wants. What device you gonna mention here?
Would it be irony still?
It depends. Remember, there's no right or wrong, but your explanation is what it will live on. So tell me, how is the irony explained?
So I would have said that basically that he is putting the boy in a position to die, but if he was really a good father, he wouldn't have done that. And she said something about who, if their father asked him for bread, would give him heart exploding death, which was basically an allusion to Luke 11 verse 11, when Jesus said, who, if their son asks them for bread, you give them stones, or something like that.
Okay, Christian, that's good. Right. So Brong, you wanted to say something? Brong wanted to say something.
I think she was saying that she was basically mourning his death
before he died.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very good conception, a very good misconception. Students often think that this person already died. He did not die. She was preparing for his death, because she was saying that oftentimes, well, we often say, who lives by the sword, die by the sword. So this person, she was preparing for his death. She says what? She went downtown and bought 2.5 yards of black cloth for the day he draws his bloody salary. So she's preparing for it because she knows that it is going to come. All right. So I know that poem is some person's favorite.
Sir, with irony, right? Before I go on to irony, I have the woman speaks to a man who employed her son, exposes the astonishment of a mother whose son she raised on her own, loved dearly, and even pretending to be absent parent, chooses a life of crime because of a man who wore a suit and tie. He sees this person as a father figure to him and respects him dearly, to the point that the mother is prepared for her son's death. I use irony because it is expected that a single parent plays both roles. She played both the father and both the mother role. So it's expected that the child wouldn't be seeking for any father figure because his mom substitutes that role. But
Mhm.
in the end, he still seeks for a father figure. He may not notice it, but it's visible that he seeks for a father figure, because why else would they use a man in a suit and tie for or why else would they use a male in the poem? So I see it more so as, okay, he will only feel complete if there's a both parents, not an absent parent. So it's like she's hurt about that she did so much, and yet he can just turn around and just
Yeah.
accept this man as this father, even though he more likely didn't know him throughout his entire life, as you know he knows mom.
Right.
So
So that stuff's right. That's a heartbreaking situation, don't you think? Imagine you've done so much for the ungrateful, huh? And then sorry, I was projecting my own personal problems onto that poem there.
It has a part where she said she's basically twice his parents, something like that.
She raised him twice, once as a mother and as a father. Huh? John
So the
Christopher.
part with her preparing for his death, is that an example of foreshadowing?
Yeah, it can be foreshadow, but you gotta spend some time explaining that. Williams, you want to say something?
Oh yeah, I was saying that the line he raised him once, she raised him twice, once as a mother and then as a father. When you said it was being ungrateful, although it was from a personal perspective, remember that the mother, she's a mother, she's incapable of raising him as both a father and the
Exactly.
mother at the same time, which is why he seeks that father figure. And he doesn't know what a father or
Is
how a
supposed to
father
treat
should
him, yeah,
supposed to treat him. So
definitely.
he ends up looking the wrong way, and that way is inevitably going to let him die.
Lead him to his demise. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And you see, sometimes we often blame people. We really, it's not really people, but the circumstance in which they're in. For example, a young girl who does not grow up with her father might not know what love looks like, and she goes out there looking for love in all the wrong places. And the type of love that she gets is some big old man who wants to take abuse of, who's going to abuse her situation and use her for sexual gratification, and not really to just support the dream that she has, because of all of that leads because of the absent father. So the situation is the same here. The man is absent, and as a result, this boy wants to feel love and protection from his father and teaching responsibility and all. But the father absent here is obviously going to affect the way he grows up. And as a result, we can see that there. Samsung, you want to say something quickly?
Also, you can look at the part where she said she's throwing a partner with Judas is Iscariot's mother, the thief, and the left-hand side are the cross. Her mother is a banker. Her jaw, though, is first and last. I mean, the money she probably get from that partner is to bury her son. Like when she said she was preparing for her son's death. Is that money, you know?
Perhaps.
Going to her hands as mother and father, she's prepared, she's done.
Absolutely.
So once you draw that money that she's throwing, you know it's for the burial.
Perhaps. Again, throw in perhaps, because are you learning good son? Exactly. Good. Perhaps. Who's saying something there just now? Go ahead.
There another device we can see is biblical allusion.
Right, lots of that.
She says Psalms for him. We know that in the Bible, the book of Psalm is about prayer, especially prayer about protection. And that is exactly what her son needs in this moment, because there isn't anything she can really do. He already gets himself tied up in the gang. You know, the most she can do right now is, you know, pray and hope for the for things to turn out good, even though, you know, she knows that the chances are very slim. Also, another biblical allusion can probably be with Judas Iscariot's mother. We know that Judas in the Bible, anybody who is a Judas is somebody you can't trust. So, you know, the fact that this lady throwing box on with Judas Iscariot's mother, how I interpret it is like the lady, well, the parents, they also got betrayed by their children. So like, you know, she like she's not alone in the situation. She has someone who shares same
And why do you think that's important, Alika? Why do you think that is important?
why it's important.
Thinking about the Caribbean context, exactly what you're saying there. What does that lead you to surmise?
That's sometimes it's better to like work like when situations are hard. It's to me it's like easier when you know you're not the only one going through it.
But most importantly, it's really showing us that the situation that she's dealing with is
It's not like
common.
it's not yeah, it's not like something she alone going through, something that it's all over the place basically.
So this boys on this chat, I want to encourage you to not be one of those persons when you grow up. Don't just make children here, there, and everywhere and drop them like puppies and run on, but stay there to be a father, to encourage and to motivate your young ones, right? Because there are a lot of boys, I'm sure there's some here as well, who don't understand what a father's love is, and as a result, struggles as a result of it. Somebody saying something?
Damn, bro.
Oh, Mr. Bro.
Sorry, that's quite ironic.
Mr. Brog, why are you inserting yourself in this conversation? We're not talking about you and your fatherless situation, sir. All
Sorry,
right. You see, we're not talking about him, you know, he just threw himself in that situation there.
Carry on, sir. Carry on. It's okay.
We love you, don't worry. All right. Good.
But
Yeah,
sir,
it's very common in the Caribbean situation. That's the point I want you to bring out. When you're writing your essays, it's okay to say this is common in the Caribbean. We relate to this in the Caribbean. As a result, we want something as a result out of that. Right? Good. Excellent. Healthy discussion there. So I guess I can see that you guys like the woman who speaks to the man who's employed her son. One more for the road. One more poem. Who wants to go with it? And then my grade one student, Angel.
Not proud.
That be not proud. Okay, who go ahead then? When you
Sir,
name
I'm
the
actually
poem.
having a
But
problem.
it's all high.
So I don't think they're gonna bring the new poems tomorrow. Given the fact that this is the first time they're appearing, I don't think they're gonna bring the new poems. But anybody wants to walk us through That Be Not Proud? Quite simple, but let's go.
I can talk a little bit on it.
Go ahead.
That Be Not Proud. I like this poem because it shows us that we know most of us are afraid of death. I mean, I myself, you know, have that little fear of dying
You're
and so on.
deathly afraid of death.
Basically. So what this poet is trying to say is to tell that look, hey, I'm gonna be afraid of you no more. Simply because that you're just putting me in like a temporary sleep. One day I'm gonna wake to eternal life. And when that happens, you yourself, you're gonna die. You know, so like why be afraid of you? You aren't that powerful. It's just like it's trying to show us that like maybe how to overcome our fears, or yeah, showing death that you know I take the upper hand in this situation. You ain't got nothing on me basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put that in its place. Right. So yeah, definitely. Anybody wants to add anything on that device?
He uses apostrophe, referring to death as a person. But
Plus personification, eh? He's persifying that.
as well, yeah.
Good. To show how death has powers, or death is often referred to as this individual who's almightyful and all of that. Good. Who wants to? Let's talk about Olai quickly, because I like using Olai to talk about projection. Who wants to talk about Olai? Who's that? Brong? Yeah, Brong. Go ahead.
All high is basically a lady. She basically placed herself in a situation when she was young because her mother told her to be kind two others. And she's saying that she can't resist eating or drinking baby's blood. But
Mm.
I think the
Oh,
solution to everything was making her count rice, putting rice around the baby, and
so
removing all bags.
remember, make sure you're writing a poem that you're strong on, right? Don't write in a poem that you're a little iffy on. Write on what you're strong on. So Olag is superstitious in the fact that they're telling us this superstitious story of a woman who drinks baby blood for her sustenance. So she's drinking his baby blood to live a little long. And the more she drinks the blood, the longer she lives, right? And it is showing to us that perhaps, and I'm sprinkling the word perhaps there, perhaps this old woman is being told, or people are being told this old woman is such a bad person. And perhaps when the baby gets sick, it might not be because of Oleg, but it might really be because of the mother's own negligence, and the mother being tired and exhausted from taking care of this baby. And maybe the mother is projecting her inabilities, projecting her ill thoughts of this baby. And as a result of that, the baby is sick and not necessarily Oleg. So that's projection. And sometimes when we cannot bring ourselves to admit the truth about our own selves, we often project our insecurities onto other people. Does that ring a bell? Projecting your insecurities onto other people?
Yes, sir. You're projecting your line out to other people.
I was about to say you projecting your ugliness onto the other person and calling other people ugly. Oh, we're not talking about that tonight. Moving on. All right, excellent. So that concludes our talk on the poems. We can't spend more time on.
So what about it's a constant image of your face?
All right. Let's stick one in there quickly. 3 minutes. You go talk.
So it's telling us that a man who loves his country a lot was in a position where he had to choose between his country and his lover, and he was going back and forth and thought that it was quite treasure it was quite uh, I can't remember the word right now, sir.
Go on.
It was, he thought it was wrong to choose someone over his country, but although he tried to choose his country, he still felt guilty for not choosing his lover, and eventually he thought that it was correct to for once choose his lover over his country and hope that his country could forgive him for completing such treason.
Right. So at one point, it seemed as though he was about to choose the country and to go fight for this country. And then when he stares at this beauty of this woman, he says, "It's the constant image of your face as is framed within my hand as you knelt before my chair. This is the reason why I did what I did. It's because of the constant image of your face." He says it's such blackmail with your beauty. So he's owing the fact that he has made up his mind to move away from fighting for this country and stay in the embrace of this woman. He's blaming that on the fact that she was so beautiful. So he's personifying the country as if the country is not a mistress, and he has to make this horrible decision of choosing between these two lovers. And in the end, he chose to be in the embrace of the woman and not to go fight for this country. And can you really blame him? Wouldn't you do the same?
Yes.
No, sir. I won't do the same.
You wouldn't do the same. But I can understand why you wouldn't do the same when you look the way you look. So I can understand your reasoning. But why wouldn't you?
You're talking about looks, sir? Come on, man.
So I wouldn't, sir. Dulce et decorum est, sir.
Man, no, we talked about that already. You talked about that one already. It's
Yeah,
sweet and
that's what I'm saying. I would
oh,
have
it's sweet
fight
and
for my
fitting.
country.
Oh, so you fight for your country. Oh, sweet and fitting to die for
Yes.
one country. Oh, look at you. You're Jamaican.
Yes, sir.
Y'all got a nice little patriotic going on there for y'all. Good luck with that one, too. When you there? When you there for the country living on, you, and you gone in the grave. Yes, Convel, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was asking you if you could go over the poem Old Hague.
Old Haig, we just
Yes.
spoke about that one.
Oh, I was on the meeting because my Wi-Fi failed.
But I have a YouTube video for that one too. So we are saying that it's superstitious. It's a parable that is told that some old woman is using baby's blood for her sustenance. And as a result, she is drinking his blood to continue her life. And it's a fable that's being told to us probably by mothers who were tired and wants to blame someone when their babies die. So they're blaming the death on Oleg, and really it might just be as a result of their own negligence. So they're using projection in the sense that they're projecting their insecurities and blaming someone else for the things that they should have done. Ella, quickly.
Okay, so what's the similarity between that and the German Black Boy?
Pardon?
Alienation and someone between two.
Oh, okay, I'm happy you answered that because I really didn't hear what she said. Ella, you want to say something quickly?
What about the African thunderstorm?
Nah, we're not gonna look all of those. I have YouTube videos on them. You look at them. Good. So moving on now, we are looking at let's go to Anansi. What is the situation in Anansi? Angel, you're up still? Angel left? No, she's here. Tell us about Anansi. Hey, anybody want to tell me about Anansi? What's happening in Anansi?
Sir, the slave trade, sir.
Yeah, the business of the slave trade. What about the business of the slave trade?
Wasn't it like the triangle? Like from one of, was it Africa? Africa to the triangular slave trade, something like that. From Africa to the Caribbean, from the Caribbean to Europe.
I don't know what triangle you're talking about, but I guess
No,
I got
like
it.
some history behind it, but it was like they took some slave from Africa, the girl with some of her tribe members, and they had them on the ship and they were transporting them from the ship to the Caribbean to be sold at an auction.
Right.
And during the whole trip, she was being told stories by this lady that she called her mom, really. Like, what did they say?
She
As
called
a
her
comfort person.
Yes.
And she was telling her stories to keep her mind at ease about the great Anansi.
And then to keep her mind at ease about what was happening, the slavery.
Exactly, because she didn't really understand what was going on. She knew she was being taken away, but she never really get the full understanding of what happened when they reach their destination.
All right. Good. So what's happening here? So we are seeing contrast. Let's talk about device right up front. Remember again, everything tomorrow you will have a question about devices. So we see contrast is used in Anansi. We are contrasting the types of relationships we're seeing. We are seeing one, a patriarchal father-son relationship in the captain and boy. And then we are seeing the mother figure with woman and girl being similar and different to each other. So we are seeing one, the man is roughing this boy up, saying, you know what, you read too much damn books, you got to get onto the business of this slave trade. You got to learn the things I want you to learn. And then on the other side, the woman is teaching this girl compassion, empathy. She is telling her that though I understand that you might want to hate what is happening here, you might want to hate the white man and the people who are doing this, you shouldn't hate. You should be she's teaching her compassion. She's teaching her how to be empathetic. I would not agree with that. Hate has to be taught sometimes with hate, but let's not think about what I think. It's about what you think and what you're gonna write at the exam tomorrow. So, what is happening in this?
Sir.
The business, let me just finish. The business of the slave trade continues when the father becomes ill. He didn't die, at least it didn't indicate to us that he was dead. But the same son who first felt as though slavery was cruel, began to, please heal. Who hurt you? Nobody hurt me. All right, so the same boy who thought that the slavery was horrible began to become just like the father. So what are we seeing there?
Irony.
That father pushes, yeah, it's ironic, but we're still comparing the contrast here. So we see the father push his agenda onto that boy. And what do we see with the other side, with the girl and the woman? We see that the woman died. The woman got sick. The woman was removed, just like how the father or the captain removed himself in the end. But the girl became just like the woman. Her destiny, her fate was just the same. She became a slave and she was pushed and abused and all of that. So the situations are quite different. The situation for the Black woman or the Black people is to continue this business of slavery, and the white man is to continue the agenda of selling these Blacks. And then people want you to forget of the things that happened in slavery. We must forget and move on, but really, slavery still affects us all still today. Any other thing we want to add there?
Sir, the way how the girl turned like the woman, meaning that, like the way how when the woman died, afterwards the girl started to tell stories when she was up for bidding. That's what you mean. When the girl turned like the woman.
Yeah.
Sir, I think survival also plays in there, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Because she was telling the Anansi stories, and she was also telling her that although Anansi was the smallest animal or creature in the forest, he was still able to outsmart all the big ones. Could be referring to the white people. That even though we may be subjugated by them, we can still outsmart them in any small way and get the upper hand, maybe. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but at a later date.
At some time. All right. And let's talk about some of the stories that we're told now, quickly. Who wants to guide us in the stories that we're told?
There was the story with Mancro and Soliday. The story, it was like a contrast to not a contrast, it was parallel to what was going on in the ship, and it was like to help what was going on when Gran gave Soliday six arrows, and the 6 arrows represented ways to defeat Mancro. This could relate to what was going on in the ship, because Mancro could represent the white man, and Soliday could represent us as slaves.
Not us as slaves. Stop it right there. Stop it right there. Not us. Definitely not us. Go on. Go on, Bradley. Is Ghani gone? Anybody wants to continue? Any other stories? Tell us the story of Anansi. You see what you mean? You know I do.
There's also the story with the tiger and Anansi, when Anansi tricked Tiger into taking off his fat and coat, telling him, "Oh, that I can show you it's hot, and I can carry you to this place, where it's very cool and you can swim. But in order to go, you need to take off the fat." And now Tiger, making Anansi a spider, outsmart him. He took off his fat, and we see that Anansi cook his fat, and not only did he do that, he set up Radbat now, who come in here talking about some song contest. Radbat had no idea about this song contest, and Anansi now set up Radbat for it to look now like if Radbat was the one who I think stole the fat by giving him the song. And in the song lyrics that he gave Radbat to sing was like if Radbat saying, "Oh, I was the one who take your fat." yesterday this time me a yum tiger fat or something like that.
So it shows how people can be cunning, yeah. So the stories, the three sets of stories that we are seeing, the Anansi story in Guyana here, we say Nancy story. We use Nancy story when we're in any unfortunate or any sad situation to pass our time. We tell these Nancy story, right? But here we see the context. We see where this Anansi story start from. This Anansi story goes back to the era of slavery, when our slaves are using Anansi story to calm the situations. And as we see in Anansi, these three different sets of stories, we are showing you how somebody who might be small and insignificant can really triumph over something that might be large and unfavorable. So similarly, like how you might think of slavery, where you have these insignificant, or at least some of them were insignificant slaves, might triumph at this greater plot against the white man, or plot from the white man, or the era of slavery, right? So we see insignificant people outsmarting others. Like, for example, Anansi. And we have three different examples of how he outsmarted anybody else, well, the other persons in these stories that were told, right? The exam will not necessarily ask you to remember everything that's happened. It's going to ask you to discuss two situations to show probably how somebody who is small or relatively insignificant can be impactful, something of that nature, right? Devices, we talked about contrast. Can we talk about another device? I'm Guyanese. Can we talk about any other device? The best Caribbean country there is. Yeah. Any other device we can talk about? Quickly. No? All right. So I guess that's Anansi. We're moving on now. You're excused, Brown. It's okay. So, all right, let's move on to Animal Farm. Who's going to tell us the story of what's happening in Animal Farm?
Yes. Corrupt government.
Let's go.
Sir, basically politics, sir.
Not basically politics, not politics.
Well, it's politics. A government, a corrupt government, sir, because at first they did have the farmer, Mr. Jones, and him never really did that do a good job. And then the pigs come to overthrow him, and then become the government that them say them are gonna be better than the farmer, but end up be just like him and worse. And then them start turning on the well, not just like
no, I resonate with you. Go on.
Yeah, and then become worse than the farmer, and them start turning against the pigs started to turn against each other.
Sometimes we often become the same persons we once chastised. Eh? So they claim that go on, Williams.
Well, Animal Farm, it really contrasts with real people. It alludes to the Russian Revolution, a part of World War II, and a series of events that happened after. So it's basically about a group of animals who, the most intelligent of all of them are the pigs. And these pigs really held the farm together. In the times of Jones, they, especially Old Major, came up with this compelling speech how the animals should rebel against man. And fast forward, they did successfully come to this rebellion, the Battle of the Cowshed and so on. But after a period of time, after Jones, there were some amount of changes, especially with the leadership of Snowball. But then you had this one he called Napoleon, who you know, he wanted all the power. He wanted Snowball out. So he had his group of dogs that he stole from the he stole these puppies from the dog spire, and then he trained them into these vicious animals. So they could be contrasted with the KGB. Napoleon, Joseph Stalin, Snowball, Leon Trotsky, Old Major could be Vladimir Lenin or Karl Marx. But what really, to conclude, it really goes to show politics. They promise you something, but in the end, it turns out worse than what we expect. Sometimes we have a leader in power, but then because of revolutions, we change this leader and then get something 2 times worse, even 3 times worse than what we actually had before. So it really ended on a sad note. It showed like Joseph Stalin how he kept his way in power, how the people represented by the animals suffered under his rule.
Yeah, and thinking about it, but don't you think that all leaders, when they hold on to power, they become just like the persons who they might have fought against earlier on?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Actually, most times I see that happening.
Yeah, most time power corrupts, and as a result,
Absolute power corpse, absolutely.
absolutely, you're right. So we could imagine, I think, yes, you like Old Major, but perhaps, we don't know. We're going to sprinkle that word perhaps there. Perhaps had Old Major been around, he probably would have been corrupt and he would have changed his laws and his rules of animalism to benefit himself too when he realized he was not getting enough power, right? We see power being changed or power influencing these political leaders to make some bad decisions, and we see the laws and the rules being changed numerous times to benefit themselves. So the idea of animalism was not realized because people wanted power to themselves, particularly Snowball, right? And he used different elements to gain that power for himself. But in the end, what we really realize is that our political leaders, and this is where it comes to the Caribbean, our politics in the Caribbean, our leaders in the Caribbean, oftentimes try to manipulate and change the rules to benefit themselves. And then the average man on the street, the layman, suffers as a result. People like me and you suffer because of poor decisions made by our political leaders. Anyone wants to add anything quickly? Excellent recollection there from our contributors so far. Anybody want to add anything?
I think for
Go on.
I'm 30 years old for Animal Farm from your understanding.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Anybody
What?
else want to add?
Yeah, what I want to add, right? We see that the animal, even though that Napoleon and the pigs are very cruel to the animals, they still keep saying, oh, at least it's better than Mr. Jones' time. Yes, we are telling them these stuff, right? But they believe it. And it just goes to show that they prefer to be oppressed and be treated badly by someone of their own kind. And this is, we see this happening in our society. People choose how should I put this over?
They rather
Maybe
punish.
political parties and represents them, not necessarily that they know to themselves that, you know, so is not good, or like, you know, the previous one was better, like, because we know that the animals were at least living better in Mr. Jones' time than in Napoleon time, but they would not admit it because they're being led by their own kind.
Yeah, so now they don't mind suffer because at least they're suffering under the kind of their own likes, huh? Right. So Animal Farm is really a situation that is brutally honest to all of us. We are all living in an animal farm at some point or the other. How is the question going to ask? Yeah, they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed. How is the question going to be asked in the exam? They're not going to ask you to recall the story of Animal Farm. I think they're going to ask you something like, explain two situations where what is happening in this animal farm is applicable to the Caribbean society. And now you have to pinpoint two situations that is happening in Animal Farm and how it juxtaposes with what's happening in the Caribbean society. I think that's how the question is going to be coming there tomorrow, right? You think you can answer that? Somebody said, yikes.
Honestly, that sounds very scary.
It sounds scary? Why? But that's what we've
So
been talking about. All right, so let's talk about it again. So one, we see what's happening in the Caribbean society. We see our political leaders are changing the rules to benefit themselves. Then you go on to reference two situations or a situation where the rules were changed in animal or on this animal farm to benefit the leaders. Thou shalt not
Sir, and
kill
when we
other
do
animals
do
without
this,
cause.
can we mirror to a Caribbean country and a situation
Don't,
where the rule was
don't
changed?
specifically name the Caribbean country. Generalize the thing. Because I don't want you to get carried away. Oh, in Guyana we just do this and we just do the. Don't dwell too
Find
much.
you and come for you.
All right. So, what else can we see that's similar to what's happening in the Caribbean?
Propaganda.
Propaganda. Show us the propaganda.
In Animal Farm. Okay, so in Animal Farm, Squealer uses propaganda to basically get their way with the animals. Like for the apples and milk situation, Squealer told something like, we workers, we need food, and you are just a physical man labor. So we need more benefits than you, because without us, the farm going and it wouldn't work. The revolution and rebellion, it was now starting. It was now in the prime of its glory. And if they didn't have the brain workers, because remember that the pigs were mostly one that could read the best. And yeah, so propaganda was shown through that.
And would you think I'm a bad person if I say that sometimes in life the pigs might not be totally wrong for saying something like that? Let's say, for instance, I am this educated person who's making all of these right decisions for this farm. Why can't I have some extra apples and so on? I mean, I'm using all my brain power. Shouldn't I have some benefits for my brain power I'm using?
I mean, yes, you should, but they preach this.
Once you admit that, I don't know, you done change already. Go on.
They be hypocrites because they preach equality. And because at the beginning, basically what Umaja was saying was that we deserve equality because the life of animals are laborers and they are killed whenever they're not useful, whatever. So I understand, okay, you want a little extra stuff, that's all right, but don't preach something that you're not going to stand with, that you're not going to stand on. So that is me. It's okay if you want to, but preach, do it and preach.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody wants to add anything on that one there before we go? Selena, what do you want to add?
Yes, sir. I don't know. I love Animal Farm. It speaks a lot about our society today, and we can see lots of application from the text to our very own lives in every way, sort of.
Yeah. And to also reinforce what we were saying, you can always quote tomorrow the statement made by one of the persons in the book. Can't remember who it was at this point, but the person said a good human is a dead human, to indicate to us that no human being should be trusted, not even one that's dead. So that shows us how much they hated humans in this play and how much they rather to suffer under the hands of the animals, all for this animalism. Any final thoughts on this?
Sir, one thing I can say, I really respect Squealer as a propagandist, as he managed to, at one point, he managed to say some figures like how production increased by 500%, how working has increased by 200%. And those, in a sense, we understand that there are false percentage, but
Uh-huh.
I have to really respect him to be
You
able
you
to
you
come up.
respect nonsense. You respect propaganda as well.
Well, not in that sense, you know. I respect him in the way that he manages to get his
Twist
way
the
with the
thing.
people. And
Yeah.
yes. So I don't respect what he do, but I respect the way how he conveys his statement
Does
with
it?
the animals and gets his own way with everybody else.
And I tell the boys I teach the same thing. Confidence is everything. When you can walk and talk with confidence, anybody believes what you're saying. For example, I call myself the most good-looking man that ever lived. I'm the dark chocolate, and nobody doubts that in my class. At all.
This cup.
No, who said that? Who said for sure? I am putting Alicia out. She's leaving. All right, good.
Confidence and dark chocolate is key. Dark chocolate is the best skin color.
That is the spirit. That's the spirit. You're getting a grade 1 tomorrow. You're getting a grade 1. I can see it already. Vikash, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. I think Animal Farm, like it really depicts true human nature. Like the
Mhm.
revolution was already set out to fail from the beginning. Like the whole idea of communism, which was presented by Karl Marx, the Marxism theory. He was an idealist. Communism could never really exist in society because a people itself, nobody really wants to be equal. Everybody wants to be better. I mean, why would we want to evolve as a society or go on if everyone is equal? Why would you want to be a doctor and study for all them years if the garbage man can make the same amount of money as you?
Boy, you touching a certain part of me. That's so far. That's true. To be honest, I can't study for so many years as a doctor and get meager salary. No, yeah, that's
Yeah,
factual.
that's why I think when the quote, well, all animals are equal, and it was changed to all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. It's just a fact. That wasn't trying to lie or do anything. That is just the way the world is.
That's beautiful. That is just how the world is. And that's what I was hinting to earlier. You can't really blame them. For example, again, I'm using my intellect. I wasted all of my time to read all these books and learn all these things. And you tell me I can't get an extra apple or some sugar or a nice comfy bed? It's not me fault you can't read A, B, C, D, E. But I am doing it and I'm making decisions. That's just how the world is. That's just how the world is. And it's showing us again how we're all living on animal farms. It's a really beautiful book. I really like it. It's probably the best I've seen under the prose section in a while. Anybody else wants to add? Good contributions. I love it. The only way to equal is in death. I like that. That's deep. That is deep. Yeah. That's 6 feet deep, huh? So I can see some people are going to really enjoy this exam tomorrow. I love it. Good. So that's Animal Farm. I did not do Life of Leticia or whatever her name is. So anybody wants to read and talk about that? You're gonna self-direct this session. Who's gonna read Life of Leticia? Entertain us. Let me grab some popcorn. 12th Night, okay. Oops. Yeah, bro, I feel the same way about that. Anybody else?
Okay, so this is life of Leticia. or you could say Lacey. This was written by Mulhad, a Trinidadian novelist. The story is about an adolescent girl, well, Lacey, who begins on a life of a changing journey after successfully passing her common entrance exams that enables her to attend the government secondary school of La Puerta, if I said that right. It was kind of a dream come true to her because nobody in her family had the opportunity to go to secondary school. So this brings a different life, cultural practices and norms such as foods, holidays, and all the rest. The first, hold on, and let me think of before I come back. Hold on, let me think of something to say.
Somebody wants to add to that? Help her out. The more you say these things, the more you remember it, you know, guys.
Sir, where should you left off? I didn't hear.
She's talking about the secondary school life of this Leticia. She's moving on from there. Go on.
Oh, well, I really didn't finish the book, but I started this part. So I guess this was one time she started to live with her father, in the town, I guess, one time she moved from her grandma, and then she started living with her father. Then she moved to the new school. So when time she reached out of school now, she find her friend Anjani, or if me remember her name right, Anjani. And then she had described how the teacher them stay, like the teacher them going like she had said the teacher them they really know what them do. Them not so 100 when time them come on to the educational system. Like them, like she has a teacher them look flimsy and thing. So
it was only that one specific teacher though. It was a maths
the
teacher.
maths teacher. Yeah, the maths teacher.
They call her the circus horse.
Yeah, circus art. Yeah, I know, man.
There was some part like before she went to school though, when she came to the new house to live with her father, there was a part that when he was bragging to all his friends about his daughter, about that she came to the secondary school and all, but then he made her serve them, like put ice in their drinks. My teacher was telling me that it kind of point out to the fact that even though he was bragging about her and all, he was still trying to make her know her place in society, that although she's a female, you have to do, you can't go past the limits, you understand?
Yeah,
because her father has a weird mindset about like women should just like learn how to read, write, cook, clean, stay in the house, and you know.
But I not only her father alone, because remember say Anjani
father,
yeah,
yep.
he also
And her
did
brother too.
So
All right.
like,
so Walcott wants to pitch in here. Walcott, what do you want to say?
So
I was going to say the same thing with Anjani's father. And her brother, they all had this mindset that the woman's place was in the kitchen and that, they shouldn't go to secondary school. As for Anjani,
it's a patriarchal society.
Yes.
Father.
Yes.
Good.
Anjani's father and brothers also had the same mindset of women should only learn how to cook and
what happened in the end?
Domestic something.
Because,
also, Arville's Cephas is kind of abusive because his wife afraid to talk to him and them thing, and he also raises his hand, and she just flinch when he raised his hand and them thing, and the mother Ben made this fishy. Well, Anjani's mother had made this fishy comment about Well, she was questioning her, asking her if he hit she, and if she hit she could go back by she grandmother or anything. Well, yeah, that's it.
All right. So how it ends? How does life of
Oh,
Leticia?
and and Jenny kills herself.
Why you laughing?
Poisons herself at school.
Look how these Jamaicans take over this class.
But sir, the girl was being totally abused and pressured. Because
Yes.
like they were our father and our brother were sending her at school for a point just for her to be able to learn and write and read. And then like they just stopped contributing totally and said like just survive on your own because like you can already read and write, you don't need no more. So
Yeah, and
anything else they
Never
want
must
after
go.
that, I just you have to try to get it. And her mother was like bringing her to market and she was missing so much days of school. She did not get sucked down, bro. Everything, bro.
Yeah, I remember say our mother basically did not look like that too. Our mother, the mentality where our brother them did that, not brother. Our father did a push on her. He did a push on our mother too. So our mother just have the mentality there and she never really did that. Say nothing about it.
And even fear mentality start breakdown because
even want to turn out like her mother. She was saying that she really don't want to turn out like her mother.
Yeah. In the book, she also said a line that she rather dead than end up like she mother.
And
That
yeah. Eh? Okay, so you could also notice poverty because Anjani had one shot because I think Ink had went on one of her shots and then Lacey noticed that shot being the same shot because she watched the same spot and she noticed the ink spot did it. Anjani been insecure about she lunch while Lacey been praying. Lacey been wondering why Anjani insecure about her lunch when she well want the roti and the dal peri she get way Anjani get instead of the high food or whatever.
And you may be surprised how many people currently are in our society thinking just like this, that women are supposed to be in the house and women are supposed to only go to do everything that a man not supposed to do, right? So you must spend some time highlighting how this relates to our society. And anything in any book that you read or anything that you attempt to write in the exam, try to relate it to society. How did it end? How did Life of Leticia end?
Well, sir, for the ending of see that because Lacey got a major breakdown and she had to go back home with her family. And at the end we see that her family were the one who made her get better. So here we see the important role a family plays. Like there's nothing that compared to family's love because when she was away, she was sick and down and so on. But when she was surrounded by that loving environment, we see how it helped her to overcome those hard situations and look forward to the future very hopeful. So that's how the book ends basically.
Yeah, and back to the part where the father bragging. I don't know. He bragged about Lacey, but he with his son, he been kind of harsh on his son because when he tell the mother that they're going for study practice or whatever, he would hit him. He would you could get abused in this, so he would hit him and he would talk down on him instead of actually showing him what is right and wrong.
But
Yeah.
that was mainly because the son didn't know the right answers. And I
Right.
think at that point he was trying to prove a point because Leticia was falling behind in school. Remember, she got a suspension. She was like
She did that for
being a
spite.
teenager.
She did
She
that
was
for
being a teenager.
Yeah, she did that for spite because she did not like the teachers and what the teachers been doing to her.
I think she
Especially
also wanted to rebel with her father because of how he only saw her like as an object to boast about her.
But you never know it would
Yeah,
have
that's
backfired
true.
that much. And he like, hmm?
The father ain't even been want she to be around Anjan because
Anjani, yes.
yeah, some kind of cooling.
Yeah, in the book it said out of all the people you could have made friend with, you went and you made friend with a coolie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Talking
that's
about the
deep.
Yes. In the book
Book
you see
is
a
very
lot
deep,
of
sis.
cases of
Yeah.
racism too.
Mhm.
In the classroom with Mr. Tiwari.
Yeah, I
And
The
remember
even Miss
boys.
Lopez.
this lady
Mhm.
Guyana and
bring
Guyana, Guyana
this
and
lady
Trinidad
brought a picture.
have that in common. So I guess that's where the author is coming into play there.
And you could see
Is
where
really showing what's happening in the society. Mhm.
you could see where Anjani loves her family because a teacher had come to teach the class and they show this picture of a white family and they tell the teacher people to draw that. And instead Anjani drew her family with her grandparents and all the rest. The teacher showed this
That
nuclear family with white people. Yeah.
I think that was Leticia. Leticia drew her family with her, and that was also ironic too because the typical the family that is portrayed to be a good family, it was the normal nuclear family with like a mother, father, and children. But for Leticia, it was her extended family with her grandparents and her
Uncles.
uncle and cousins.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a lot of racism was shown, even at the start when the grandmother and Leticia were just staying for school. And Miss Lopez, like, bro, these black people, bro.
All right,
And
good.
then even in the class, she like hated Anjani and she like kept on arguing with Anjani and Leticia.
That even led to Leticia flipping on her also.
I think we talk enough about life of Leticia. Let's go on to a multiple choice exam. And hopefully we have covered enough for your paper 2. Remember again, go to the exam early. You want to get there at least 30, 45 minutes before. Try not to be late. Whatever circumstance might lead you to be late, try and get rid of those circumstances. And right. When you're finished with your paper 2, you should be exhausted. You should be overwhelmed by how much you have written and confident that you will do well. All right. When it comes to the multiple choice, just try your very best to stay focused. I know there'll be a lot of reading, but just make sure you try to stay focused and to ensure you actually choose the right answers. There are going to be questions that have close answers, and you want to make sure you actually choose the right of the close answers, right? You guys sound like a bright bunch. You remind me a lot of my own students when they get ready. So you guys are going to, I'm quite sure you're gonna do well. All right, but don't become too overconfident. Just get the job done. Take your time, answer your questions. Don't scratch. Don't cancel anything. Write. If the essay is not going the way you want it to go, continue writing. Make it go from that point onward. Don't scratch and say and write back. That's the element of failure. Don't do it. Right? Just move on. All right? Good. So let's try and do some multiple choice. Anybody has 2023 January paper?
Yes, sir, I have it.
Share it quickly. I'm not getting to share.
Sure, no problem.
Yes, there is. What do you mean there's no multiple choice in literature? Man, you ain't talk so much about this literature exam and then suddenly now you know there's multiple choice? Nah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So there is a paper 1, which is a multiple choice exam. When I wrote exams, there was no multiple choice, but now there's a multiple choice component. I think around 450 words is good enough for a decent essay. Somebody's asking how many words for a decent essay. Go with the intention of having fun. Go with the intention of having fun tomorrow at the exams. You have read this thing, you want to talk about this thing, but just remember, just make sure you answer the question. Don't just get carried away with writing, talking. Let's make sure you answer the question. All right, good. I see Adam Webb has joined us. Hey, Adam, this morning in Japan. It's almost nearing midday. You have the paper up?
You want me to screen share it?
Yeah, I want you to screen share it.
All right, sure, no problem.
We finished Anansi, actually. We just finished Anansi. Y'all just come on late. So y'all come on, everything done happened already. Let's see what's happening here. Good. So remember to read your stage directions. The stage directions will have useful information that will be you will use to answer questions. So make sure you read your italics with your stage directions. At this point, we can't go through everything. We're gonna pick things that looks commable, and hopefully it comes. If not, I guess this is just preparing you for the exam. So good. So who's gonna read for us? Let's have some some characters. Who wants to be the narrator to read the directions? Quickly, roll call.
I'll be the narrator.
Excellent. Who's gonna be Millie, Celsus, Walix?
I would be Celsus.
I could be Millie.
Good, lovely. There's a Helen, or just mention Helen. All right, good. So let's go.
But I still cannot married.
Why?
Look, my jacket there.
Oh Lord, how you manage?
We was fighting.
Anne is Papi's suit I had to take out of the cupboard to lend the boy. Anyway, I can fix that. Helen, get some safety pin on my table for me.
Exit Helen.
You mean you going pin it?
You expect me to sew it now? We haven't got time for that.
Helen returns with pins. Millie starts the pin.
Celsus.
But where you ever hear of a man marrying with pin-up clothes?
Wedding with pin-up clothes better than no wedding. This wedding takes place this morning by the hook or the crook.
Aside.
Shucks. What the hell I going and do now?
Walix. What you say, pal?
Aside.
Celsus.
I going and faint. I going and
No,
You
at this
feeling
point.
sick?
Oh, I get it.
Allowed.
I'm feeling giddy. I'm feeling faint.
You feeling sick?
Celsus. Chelsea Reed.
that I can't see. Just lie
Open your
down.
eyes. Anybody else can see?
Yeah, I go in and faint. I go in and
Faints.
Helen, all you look, the boy faint.
Imagine if you read it like the a whole exclamation mark.
Enter Millie, Helen, and others.
Oh Lord, look the boy die. He die. He die. Look what I gonna do with this poor young boy.
Helen. It's not die, mama. It's fainty faint.
Enter woman with bucket of water.
Gimme. Okay, everybody step back. 1,
Swings
2.
bucket.
Blue Zoom. Uh-huh.
okay,
Okay.
don't.
Oh,
Getting up.
okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. I feeling sick enough before I go catch pneumonia with all you old cold water.
Don't try those kind of jokes again. Eh? Look, it looked like you really getting out to the way now. But I already tell you what will happen to you if you try that.
Millie does her final dressing and Millie does her final dressing on one side of the stage.
No, but I was really feeling sick. We?
Oh yes.
Sarcastically.
Oh yes, sweetheart.
But true. And up to now, I'm not too steady. Helen, you haven't got a drink there.
You done?
Pa Helen eh.
I hope y'all don't read so slowly tomorrow. Y'all gonna be in trouble.
Oh, Helen.
Who's
Let me
that? You had one there I'd bring for Mr. Jack.
Don't even call Mr. Name for me.
Giving him drink.
Look it.
Thank you. Well, here's to the memory of my boyhood days of happiness, joy, peace, and contentment. It was a good life, but the Lord see it fit to take me away from it. Sorry. As I say goodbye to happiness, let it not be said that I did not do to my good turn for a old miserable woman like Miss Millie. But let it be hoped that one day I might rise again from the valley of despair and come out with $80,000.
As he drinks, he spills the drink on his jacket.
Oh Lord, look how my shirt get wet down.
What?
Well, it don't seem I can get married again.
The woman.
Take that cloth on the table for me.
To Celsus.
You have too many tricks in your skin. You're not a skin.
This is going to be the best wedding lad I've ever seen.
Aside.
So you really mean I going and get hanged today, eh? I only wish my father was here.
To Helen, who is close by.
Helen, I don't even know what to say. I only wish.
Let Millie, before you all go, let me take out a few pictures, man. This is a day that must not be forgotten. Must not be forgettable.
All the villagers crowd around Millie and Celsus trying to get into the picture. During the time, there is a knocking on the door, but the people are too taken up to hear it. Finally, a small boy hears, goes to the door and speaks to someone unseen by the audience, then returns to the group.
Miss Millie, while all you taking out the picture at the and them, somebody was knocking.
Who it was?
I don't know, a man. He said he was looking for a boy they call him Sally.
And what you tell him?
I tell him that they haven't got nobody they call Celsi here.
But how?
Quiet.
The small boy.
Where the mango?
He say he go in and ask other people because he come all the way from Caraco to make sure his son don't commit the greatest crime in the world.
Naughty.
Breaking loose and running out the door up center.
Daddy, off and follow him.
Exalts some villagers to small boy.
But boy, how stupid you but boy, how you stupid so you don't know Celsi with the what? You don't know Celsi is the man I going to marry now?
I never hear nobody call him that. It's Alec I hear everybody call him in.
Enter Celsus, hugging his father, Alec.
Daddy, I was just praying for you to come, man. At least I would have one relative at this wedding.
Well, Celsi boy, I had to come because this wedding have to stop.
Thunderstruck at the sight of Alec.
Millie?
They rushed to each other.
How you really think is how you gonna understand the thing, you know? Let me read 20 questions and see if we understand it. Question 1.
Which of the following best summarizes the issue portrayed in lines 2 to 30? But I still cannot marry. But where you have ever heard of a man marrying with pin-up clothes?
So you can go back to that bit there and read it. That's what you should do in an exam, just to make sure you have the best context of it. 2 to 13, it says. And quickly scan it through and then go back to your question. Somebody reading it?
Why? Look my jacket here. Oh Lord, how you manage? While we was fighting, and his papi suit I had to take out of the cupboard to lend the boy. Anyway, I can fix that. Ellen, get some safety pin on my table for me.
You
You
mean you're
mean
going
you?
You expect me to do it now? We haven't got time for that. But where have you ever heard of a man marrying with pin-up clothes?
Good. Go back. What best summarizes what's happening there? Somebody read A, B, C, D.
A, the bride and groom are searching for safety pin to fix the torn jacket.
Yeah, no, that's not true. Okay, next.
The bride and groom are quarreling because they are late for the wedding.
Next. That's not it.
Celsus is finding excuses and is not eager as Millie to have the wedding.
Songs
See.
about it. Mhm.
Yeah.
The two. Tomorrow read all the options just to make sure you're choosing the best one. What else? Read quickly. It's past my bedtime.
Which of the following words best describe Millie when she says, "This wedding taking place this morning by the hook or by the crook"?
By the hook or by the crook?
Lad.
If
D.
D.
Self-appointed, smug,
D.
determined and self-assured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got force demand for married. Three. Cool feet. But you notice how the Caribbean understanding came out there when he said, "Is I going to hang myself today?" What does that mean? You guys saw that? What does that mean?
What if I'm married?
Yeah, in the Caribbean we say we broke we neck. Or yeah, broke we neck. Getting married.
So you said past your bedtime, too.
Pardon?
You said past your bedtime.
Yeah, I have to go sleep just now. Read 3.
the aside shocks, "What the hell I going and do now?" line 16, and "Oh, I get it" line 18 contribute to the dramatic function because they allow the audience to A. Observe the conflicts and suspense caused by Celsus' wedding plans, B. Gain insight into Celsus' thoughts about the problem and solution regarding the pending marriage, C. Appreciate Celsus' misgiving about the pending marriage through the thickening plot, and D. Hear a speaker who can address the audience about the wedding.
What do you think?
B.
Yeah, B sounds good. 4. Why is he fainting? Provides fun and irony, signifies happiness and joy. Wow. Creates a diversion for Millie. Increases tension, fear, and advances the plot. What do you think?
D.
D.
Yeah. Good. Next.
Small boy's role is significant primarily because it A. Heightens the tension between the villagers and Millie. B. Facilitates the action towards a climax and resolution. C. Represents the introduction of comic relief in drama. Or D. Provides an explanation for Millie's concerns about the wedding.
I wasn't paying attention. What's the role of the small boy? Yeah, what's the role of the small boy? What's he doing? Yeah, I'm getting up to that age where if it past 11 o'clock, it's time for me to shut down. So we used to do this class a couple years ago beyond 12 and so on, but now I'm willing but a week. 4D, we passed D, we passed before already. What else?
Med schools.
Hello, hey, I finished med school a while now. No, no more late nights. Good. 5. Yeah, small boy's role is what? Heightens the tension between the villagers and Millie, facilitate the action towards the climax and resolution. He played a role to the resolution? Not necessarily. Represents the introduction of the comic relief in the drama, provides an explanation for Millie's concerns about the wedding. What do you guys think? Come on, what are you thinking? If you don't recognize what's happening with small boy, go back. Let's go back quickly. Small boy is the one that came to say that somebody was looking, some man was looking for. Where is he? Here. Good. So let's read small boy real quickly. Miss Millie, somebody read quickly for us. That's what you do
Miss
in the exam, right? If you're not seeing it, go back. It's fine to go back.
Miss Millie, while all you take out in the picture and them, somebody was knocking. Who it was, sorry. I don't know. A man. He said he was looking for a boy they call him Celsi. And what you tell him? I tell him that they haven't got nobody they call him Celsi here. But how? Reading to all of that. Quiet. Where the man go? He say he going and ask other people because he come all the way from Caraco to make sure his son don't commit the greatest crime in the world.
I never hear nobody call him that. It's not like I hear everybody calling him. All right, good. So I think we have enough. It's a kind of sense of a diversion kind of thing happening there. So let's go back. Somebody read 5 again for us.
Small boy
Small
role.
boys.
Go ahead.
Small boy's role is significant primarily because it
Heightens the tension between the villagers and the Millie. You think it heightens the tension between the villagers?
No.
No.
It's not the villagers. I didn't get that impression. B, facilitated the action towards the climax and resolution.
Kind of.
Kind of. That's the best so far we see.
Yeah.
What's C? Comic relief, I don't see that. Provides an explanation for Miss Millie's concern. Nah, yeah, B is best. 6.
The role of the villagers is to help represent A, rural life and poverty, B, unity and entertainment, C, community and fellowship, D, cultural identity and partnership.
What do you think?
So I would say or so it B.
Unity and entertainment.
C.
So well, if it's not B, it D. Cause I really do not see community and fellowship. I don't see it.
I would not go past D for real. I think it's a cultural identity. The fact that everybody's coming together for this wedding or the idea of the wedding, that shows our culture. I really relate to D. The partnership part is a little iffy, but I would choose that one over the entertainment.
So I say partnership because when they've been checking picture and them type of thing. They said that just coming. They just coming like it. I don't know.
7.
The playwright's use of the name Alec for both father and son is primarily to A, sustain intrigue and suspense, B, develop the setting and props, C, introduce irony and the resolution, D, contrast characters and their actions.
What's that one?
A.
Intrigue and suspense, why?
I mean, both of them name are Alex, so we might want to know more into it. I don't know.
Let's quickly go back. And don't be shy to go back tomorrow. Go back to your questions. Yeah, somebody saying something?
So I think you have to go back. Someone you don't read. Someone we don't read that one.
Okay, go back.
C.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's a suitable title for this? Elopement? Who get away?
A.
Yeah, I'll go for A.
Scandal, elopement, excited groom. That's definitely not it. Runaway bride. It is a runaway groom. That probably would have been a better one, huh? Scandal. Okay. 9 and 10.
Based on the final stage direction and details in the extract, a likely outcome of the situation could be A. Millie, Celsus, and Alec being chased from the village. B. Millie and Celsus making up and continuing with the wedding. C. Celsus and his father berating Millie and leaving the village. D. Millie and Alec catching up on the past and Lisa getting married.
I'd say D, honestly.
I would say D.
Because we could see, like, apparently Millie and Alec knew each other
Know
because,
each other.
at
Yeah.
the end they say Taz, Millie, and then they rush
And-
to
And
each
like,
other.
yeah, Alec was the father, which is Alec was trying to stop the wedding, and he was going to say something, and then Millie came in. So it seemed like they didn't know each other.
Yeah, like maybe they had something going on
Something,
before, something like
yeah.
that.
I hear y'all putting in stories. Okay. There's something going on before. Okay, D. 10. What's used to indicate the
which of-
playwright's purpose? Satire, humor, paradox, flashback. Was there a flashback used? I thought
No
he gone, but beer entanglement. So I thought he gone.
humor, because I don't see any flashback. But just like how we go back saying that, oh, we think they have something.
Mm-hmm. All
It's
right.
not B.
Humor? What's the difference between humor and satire?
One is irony, and the other one is humor.
What's the difference between humor and satire? Anybody? Anybody still up?
So where the question go?
I guess she went to Google something. The question is asking, what was it asking?
Oh God, let me find it back.
Let me see.
They ask, which of the following is used to most effectively convey the playwright's purpose? Satire, human, paradox, or flashback.
I can see the satire often has some underlying story or something of that nature. But I can see the humor here indeed. It was quite funny. So I would go with the B indeed. I'll go with the B. All right. You guys want us to do one more for the road? Or that's it? Call it a night or one more for the road. Let's see the poll.
Screen share back.
Call it a night or that's it?
That's it.
That's it. All right. That's it. So final words. All the best in your exam. Be there early. Write for that paper too. Make sure you secure the grade 1 on the paper 2. That paper 1 is going to be hell. Prepare yourself for it. The multiple choice is there. Close your eyes and put your pen on an answer if it's not coming. All right. Good luck, guys. You've worked hard for this. You've come to this point here now. Don't mess up now. All right. Go with the favor of Jesus Christ and all the other gracious beings. Right? You got this. You got this. Remember, you cannot be ugly and lazy. You cannot be ugly and not get a grade 1 in English B, right?
Stop.
Word.
Be serious.
So,
You're going to enjoy the
Can't feel
paper.
twice.
all right. Good luck, guys. Make me proud. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
English B is one of the
Yes,
nicest
sir.
exams,
Yeah, of course.
especially paper 2.
Especially paper 2. When paper 1 come about, let's do something, man.
Yeah. Just know if you get an easy paper 2, expect a hard paper 1.
Usually that's how it goes, you know. That's it usually. All right, guys. Sleep good. Get some rest. Wake up early. Set some alarms, huh? Good. Bye-bye.
Bye.